Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from the rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit, and the title for this was going to be, we'll have true rest in the kingdom. Because true rest is being sovereign from your enemies, because right now we're in captivity under this devil Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, because we sinned against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. We broke the first covenant spoken about in Deuteronomy chapter 28. If we kept the covenant, the first covenant, kept the laws, statutes, commandments that were given to us by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to the nation of Israel, that comprised of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which only the nation of Israel can sin, because the covenant wasn't given unto the heathens. It was only given unto the nation of Israel, that comprised of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and Israelite foreigners that may look like the other nations, like the heathen nations. But ultimately, their lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Only the nation of Israel can sin. And that's ultimately why you see the condition that our people are in, especially here in America, the United States of America, which is Babylon the Great, spoken about in the scriptures. We're completely at the bottom. We're called all these different bywords and proverbs, being at the bottom of pretty much under all the nations. Being on Section 8, food stamps, welfare, having to go to our enemy for the one of all things, having to constantly work these jobs, pay these bills, living paycheck to paycheck, ultimately because we sinned against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and that's why we're in the condition we're in now, but it's coming to an end. This captivity, this slavery that we're in, is coming to an end very soon. And that's when we're going to have that true rest in the kingdom of heaven, because here you truly get no rest. You constantly harassed by 2/3 of your people. Your own people are the main ones that come against you. You got these so-called white people coming against you, these other heathen nations constantly harassing you, vexing you in the spirit. And it's just all types of different hell that you have to catch. Infirmities, all these different trials and tribulations, having to deal with your wicked ass women, your family, and all sorts of madness that really doesn't let you rest in this captivity that we're in, because ultimately we're here for a punishment. We're not here on vacation. As a lot of Israelites love to make their punishment so-called bearable, because we're not here for a vacation. We're here for punishment. And ultimately we deserve it because we sinned against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. We got to bear the indignation of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because we could be doing a lot worse than it is, but our burden, our yoke is light, because ultimately Yahushai took that brunt force for the elect, because right now we're catching our hell, we're under captivity, but 2/3 of the nation of Israel, they think that this is their rest. They think that this is their kingdom of heaven. And ultimately, that's why Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is going to let them stay here, because they don't want the true rest, the true kingdom of heaven, which is going to be governed by the nation of Israel, starting with Yahushai, King David, and the 12, and the rest of the 144,000. That's going to be the ruling government upon the earth. But right now, it's being ruled by this devil Esau Edom. And he has completely destroyed the whole planet Earth, robbed, raped, murdered, stolen resources from all these different nations, and the whole earth is groaning. They're looking forward for the nation of Israel to rule upon the planet Earth, where the whole earth is going to finally get rest, because the whole earth isn't at rest right now. You got Esau Edom constantly destroying the environment, deforestation, polluting the airs, waters, killing off the food system, the cattle. And therefore, we truly don't have rest here. And that's why we're looking forward to the kingdom of heaven, where we're finally going to get true rest. This is Micah chapter 2 and verse 10. O rise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sword of destruction. And when it says arise, that's not saying to get on an airplane, get on a boat, and go to a far off island. Because ultimately, when Jacob's trouble hits, when that hour of temptation, when the MOTB gets presented, it gets made mandatory. The whole world's going to have to go under that new digital system. So you can't really get away from the judgment that Yahweh Shemiah Shai is going to bring upon the planet Earth, because we're going to be in the midst of it, us of the hopeful elect. But that's why we're praying, hoping that we're part of that elect, so we could receive that mercy. Because ultimately this place that we call America is going to get utterly destroyed by the way of fire. And that's why we departed, we arise and detached ourselves from this place mentally, spiritually, because we know that this place that we call America is coming to an end. Because our time of punishment, of being under captivity is almost coming to an end, but we still got to bear, we got to endure, the hell that we're catching now. That's part of our baptism. This is Baruch chapter 2 and verse 30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. And that's the nation of Israel. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The nation of Israel is very stiff-necked. 2/3 of the nation of Israel, they're not going to take heed to the words of Yahweh Shemiah Shai. That's ultimately why they're going to be destroyed, because they want to stay here. They want to make this place that, America, their rest. But in the land of captivities, they shall remember themselves. And now we're remembering ourselves, because before we came into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we didn't know that we were, the true nation of Israel. We always believed that, the people over there in the land right now, the small hats were the true nation of Israel. But now that we came into the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, now that the dry bones live again, like it's spoken about in Ezekiel 37, now we know who our true power is. Now we know that we're the true nation of Israel, Yasharallah, Prince of the Power. Now we're remembering ourselves. Verse 31, and know that I am the Lord, their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear. And that's right. Ultimately, it was Yahweh Shemiah Shai who woke us up, to the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, because the true doctrine of Yahweh Shemiah Shai wasn't in these Christian churches. It wasn't in these other religions. No, it was, fully given to us when we stumbled upon the apostles and elders, the great millstone, the pushing the 100% truth, no gimmicks, no guile, just 100% truth. Verse 32, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. And that's right. We're praising, we're giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shemiah Shai, because ultimately that's the reason why we have this truth. It's not according to our own, doing. No, it is ultimately given to us as a gift by Yahweh Shemiah Shai, and Lord willing, we endure to the end, so we can receive that crown. Verse 33, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before the Lord. And that's right. We're putting off that old man, coming off the world, leaving that worldly, mindset behind. Now we're going back to the ancient path of our forefathers, that were doing the will of Yahweh Shemiah Shai. But ultimately we went off, we sinned. And that's why we were constantly in captivity after captivity. And now we're in our final captivity. This is the last go around. The next kingdom is going to be the kingdom of heaven, where we're finally going to have our true rest. Verse 34, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And that's what we're looking forward to going back to our land, the land of Israel, the land of milk and honey. Because right now, this land that we're in is very polluted, spiritually, physically, mentally. It's polluted in every shape, way, and form. You know, and we know that this land is going to be destroyed because it has done nothing but pushed out abominations. It has done nothing but shed the blood of the nation of Israel. You know, the tribe of Gad, tribe of Reuben, you know, the tribe of Issachar is done nothing but you know, robbed, killed, raped our people. You know, and we're looking forward to be put back in our land. You know, because that's how you know that the people over there in the land right now, the small hats, the gutter rats, they're not the true people, because where's King David? Where's the kingdom of heaven? You know, you still got wars and rumors of wars. You know, they're not immortal. They're still out there getting bombed. Verse 35, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. And that everlasting covenant, the second covenant, is going to be those new bodies having the law, statute, commandments written in our inward parts, never to go off ever again, which if we never sin, then we never die. And that's immortality. That's what we're looking forward to. We're not looking forward to remain here in America for another 30, 50, 100, 1,000 years. No. We know that our time of being captives here in America is coming to an end very soon. This is Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 14. For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. And that's right. You know, that's what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to that new city, the new heavens. You know, because right now we're under captivity. This is hell. This isn't true living. You know, having to go to these jobs, constantly be subject to payments, having the heathens over us. That's not true rest. True rest is going to be in the kingdom of heaven, where the law, statute, commandments is going to be written in our inward parts, where we won't have to teach our neighbor no more. We won't have to teach the nation of Israel no more. You know, we'll have to teach the heathens, but ultimately, we won't have to teach the nation of Israel no more, because that's how you know we're not in the new covenant. You know, we're still teaching the nation of Israel right now. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And that's what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to being set in our own land, because right now we're not sovereign. We're under this devil Esau Edom in America, Babylon the Great, you know, constantly having to go to these jobs, go to the enemy for one all things. This is hell, you know, but ultimately we deserve it because we sinned against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You know, and those strangers, that's going into the tribes that were scattered, because ultimately we were scattered abroad, like it says in 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 1. You know, the whole nation of Israel was scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Verse 2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And that's right. You know, in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to have servants. We're going to have slaves. Just like we're slaves right now to the heathen. Those roles are going to be reversed, and they're going to be subject under us. You know, they're going to be slaves. They're going to have to pay their tribute. You know, because right now they're the people on the high horse, and we're the servants, you know, under the horses. You know, I have seen servants upon horses. You know, that those roles are going to be reversed. You know, and we're going to rule over the heathen. Then we're going to have true rest. You know, we won't have to be subject to these heathens anymore. You know, we're going to have our oppressors. We're going to have the wicked elite under us. Verse 3, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. That's right. That's what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to be freed from this captivity, to be delivered from this hell that we're in. You know, because ultimately we have to endure to the end. You know, right now we're catching this hell. We're experiencing our baptism, but that's all part of the journey. We have to go through that to know what true rest is. You know, we have to go through that hell to appreciate the good, to appreciate the rest. You know, but that's pretty much the point. I pray that this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are learning the truth from the rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude.